This weekend is one of my favourite races of the season, Battle on the Beach, and it's a race I've been pretty successful at in the past, and I'm going into this weekend as defending champion after winning the race last year. And in 2023, I was second. So yeah, I've had a pretty good success rate, and it's currently the Friday before the race on the Sunday. And I'm in my lunch break at work, and I'm packing up all my bits and pieces ahead of this weekend. So I thought it'd be interesting to take you all behind the scenes of everything that I get up to on a race weekend at probably one of the craziest races in the UK of the year. So without further ado, let's get cracking. First things first, before I can even get going, is working out what to pack before the weekend. Now, as I'm heading to Wales, the weather can be kind of questionable. So yeah, I'm currently trying to work that all out now. So I try to be as systematic as possible to ensure I'm prepared for all conditions. So I've got a range of jackets, including waterproofs there. I got accessories like arm warmers, leg warmers, gloves over there. And then here we've got two sets of kit. So kit for practice on Saturday, and then also a spare set, and then we've got two sets of shorts and two sets of jerseys. And then here we have the race skin suits, which is this lovely bright yellow from Sportful. Yeah, I'll pack that up into a separate bag here so I know what that is. And then we've got some accessories. So we've got gels, chews, electrolytes, all that sort of jazz. We've got some of this muck off bottles, Air Magic as it's called, inner tubes, bicarb lotion, sunglasses, heart rate monitor, that sort of jazz. So yeah, then I'll pack that all up into the Stubble & Co kit bag. So yeah, I'm trying to be as organised as possible, but it's looking like I've made a right old mess. I'm actually always blown away by how much you can fit into this bag. It's the 45-litre kit bag from Stubble & Co, and to me, this is like the perfect weekend away racing bag. It's fully waterproof, got massive compartments for all your kit, and then it's got loads of nice side pockets as well. So yeah, if you're in need of a new bag this year, I would highly recommend this one because it is top notch, and yeah, I think it looks the part as well. So, right, that's all done. Going to put that in the car, and then it's time to go sort out the bikes. So I've just finished work for the week, and yeah, I've come out on my gravel bike just to test the setup really ahead of the weekend, because actually the Battle on the Beach is made up of two races. One of them is optional, which is a nighttime time trial on the Saturday, and then the main race on the Sunday. Yeah, I've come out onto the lovely South Downs Way, and this is the setup that I'll be running. This is the Ribble Gravel SL, and yeah, it's in the Ribble Collective colourway from last year. And I mean, it's the smaller details that really matter for these sorts of races, so I'm still undecided about what wheel set to use. I will go and ride the course tomorrow and make a definite decision then. But yeah, at the moment I've got these Hunt sub 40 limitless wheels on with these Pirelli Cinturato gravel RCs, which yeah, they're quite grippy, and I don't know if they'll just be a little bit too grippy for sand racing, but if it rains or slightly slick, then yeah, I think these will be perfect. And then final details, got like a 44 tooth chain ring. And yeah, one of the things I'll do for a sand race is completely degrease my chain. So for sand, you don't want anything sticking to your bike. And if you've got any sort of wax or lube or anything on your chain, yeah, sand's gonna stick to it and it's going to be pretty grim. So yeah, that's one of the things that I'll do. And then yeah, got SRAM Force AXS, and then of course Veloforte electrolytes. So yeah, I will of course also have my Wahoo on the front, with then I do have a Insta 360 mount right here. So don't worry, if you're wanting in race footage, that is coming, so stay tuned that'll be towards the end of this video. I've made it to Wales and I've just done a lap of the course. It's taken me about an hour to do one lap, although it's quite confusing this year because every lap is slightly different. So yeah, you do about 5 kilometers along the beach, then you exit the beach into the dunes, and then yeah, every single lap is slightly different through the woods. So yeah, it's really exciting and quite technical, which is probably good for me. I've got the beach race this evening, so yeah, I won't do too much longer. I just continue to spin the legs out, stay hydrated, and then yeah, I'll go back, get some rice, and then yeah, start getting ready for this evening's night race, which should be hopefully really good fun. So when I was referring to riding in the dunes, this is yeah, sort of what I was meaning. You essentially come straight off the beach and then you zigzag your way through the dunes, which is quite tricky one-handed. Yeah, this bit's quite grassy, and then some bits you hit are really, really sandy. So yeah, getting the right tyre and tyre pressure is going to be crucial. I'm currently running 15 PSI, which I would say is about right on 45mm tyres. But yeah, as you can see, just come up all the way through there, and then it just continues all the way and just zigzags all the way back to the main venue. So yeah, it's really quite cool and certainly very unique. The time's just gone 5:30, which means it's about 2 hours until the night race this evening. I've yeah, just finished up my plain rice, olive oil and salt, so nothing fancy, but I think just keeping it simple is key on race day. Nutrition tonight is not going to be super important. The time trial is only about 15 minutes long, so yeah, I will make up some electrolytes after this just to sip on ahead of the race. And then the most important thing is actually the recovery post-event and staying warm. So yeah, I got quite a bit of kit on. I got some Sportful bib leggings, underlayer, jacket, waterproof, and even a gilet. And yeah, I'm not really got much to do for the next 2 hours, so I'll make up some electrolytes and then just try and stay as relaxed as possible. The electrolytes in question are these Vela Forte Paso. It's mango and passion fruit, and yeah, these are my favourite electrolytes of all time. They've got 22 grams of carbs in, plus quite a bit of yeah, electrolytes obviously. And what's different about these is they come in a powder format, so there's no caking agents like you would with effervescent tablets. Yeah, there's no colourings, preservatives at all. So all the colours you see come from like real fruits, and yeah, they actually taste really nice. It's more like I guess like a fruit tea than yeah, like a fizzy pop. So yeah, make this up like this now. Well, wow, we've just made it to the premiering room. It's 9:30, which is actually quite late, but yeah, the night race was fairly successful. I didn't manage to win, which was a bit of a shame. It was an event that I won in 2023. Then in 2024, it was cancelled due to the weather. I was third, and first place was only a second faster, which over 20 minutes, it's not massive. And yeah, I mean, it's a pretty good sign of things to come for tomorrow. But yeah, before I do anything, the first thing I'm going to do is make up breakfast for the morning. So yeah, nice, easy. Again, Vela Forte Complete Overnight Oats, just 1 pouch. That does it all. Just pour that in and add some water, give it a stir, and yeah, job's a good uns. Yeah, these overnight oats are actually really handy for race weekends like this. When you make them with water, they don't need a fridge. So yeah, it's really easy to make. You can leave them up to for 3 days as well. So I could have actually made these this morning and yeah, brought them with me, but I prefer just to make it the night before. But yeah, here we go. My lovely premiering room that I paid £160 for. Time for a shower and then jump into bed because I am tired. It's finally race day. Today has come around super quick, but I'm just making sure I've got everything for the race. It's currently 8:30, so the race starts at 12 o'clock. It's got a few hours, but yeah, this is the skin suit I'm going to be wearing. It's a brand new one from Sportful, so that should be quite nice. Looking forward to testing that out. And then got heart rate monitor,
underlayer, like a thin sort of, vesty thing. And then, nutrition. It's only a 90-minute race or thereabouts today, but I think a lot of people neglect nutrition even in such short races. So my plan of action is a bottle of electrolytes on the bike, and then I've got 2 caffeine gels, Desto Doppio and Tempo, which is a non-caffeine gel. So I'll have Doppio on the start line, or Desto, one of the two. Caffeine one on the start line. I'll have another caffeine one on lap 1, and then I'll have Tempo on lap 2. So essentially a gel every 30 minutes or thereabouts. And like I said, then I'll have electrolytes in the form of Paso in my bottle, which I'll also be able to sip on, and that's got 22 grams of carbs in as well. So that should be perfect. And they're all really fast acting carbohydrates, which obviously for such short, intense race is key. I don't really want to be taking energy bars or stuff like that. So that's the plan of action. Then got my Insta360, so that'll be on my bike during the race to capture all the in-race footage. But first of all, I'm going to have my overnight oats that I made up last night, so that should be rather enjoyable. Just made it to the course, and getting things ready for go time. Got my gels, but like I mentioned earlier, I've got all of that plan sorted, but just now working out what kit to wear. A few other things that I'll be using today to hopefully help me out as much as possible. It's this bicarb lotion, which I find really helps, and basically reduces the perception of fatigue and lactic acid in the muscles wherever you apply it, I believe. And I've been testing that out on the turbo, and I don't know if it's just psychological, but I feel like it's been helping. But I mean, there's no harm that it can do. And then the other thing is some nasal tape, and essentially they open up your nostrils to help you breathe better. I don't quite know where the time went from recording that final clip to the start of the race, but the final few hours getting ready to get to the start line just absolutely flew by. But luckily, I had my Insta360 on for the whole entire race, which captured all that in-race footage for you to enjoy. And I'm going to try and do my best to show you behind the scenes of essentially how I won the race, describing why I did certain things, and just showing you how it all unfolded at the front of the race. So without further ado, this is how the start went. It's hard to describe just how crazy the start is of Battle on the Beach. This year there was about 1,400 people taking part, and it's a mass start event. So everyone starts on the same countdown, which is pretty cool. And as you can see from the video, we start at the very edge of the beach. And here it's quite soft, so you have two options. You either start by trying to ride, or you run to the harder sand and remount to then ride off. The first year that I ever did it, I ran and felt like it was a lot slower. And then last year in 2024, I started on my bike, and I actually tacked off the start line last year, which was quite brave, but it paid off as I did win eventually. This year I tried to do the same tactic, as in starting on my bike, and I think it certainly helped. As you can see, I managed to get third wheel or thereabouts as soon as we hit the hard tarmac, hard sand. But this year was a direct block headwind, so it was really hard to work out what to do. As you can see by what's happened in the race, everyone seemed to look at one another. No one really wanted to take on the workload and burn their matches so early on in the race. There were a few brave people, who did try to attack off the front of the race. A few were successful. Mikey Mottram, who used to ride for Ribble, one of my mates, he's a super strong rider, and he did manage to get about 10 to 15 second gap that he held pretty much the whole way to the end of the beach. I, in fact, tried to put in a little dig myself, as you will see. I was actually out there for about 2 or 3 minutes before I think they realised they probably should have to reel me in. But I mean, it was worth a shot. I didn't know how everyone else was going to react. So these situations, yeah, I was like, what do I do? I might as well go off from the front. Yeah, looking back at it, it's probably a little bit silly, but oh well, like I said, you've got to try these things. So the rest of the tactic for the first beach section was, yeah, just trying to stay near the front, stay out of trouble. Because there's so many riders, it's so windy, so exposed, it's actually so wide. We sort of snake up and down the beach, so it's easy to overlap wheels, hit a soft patch of sand, and yeah, just come down, and then that could be a race over. So making sure you're switched on and yeah, basically keeping aware of the surroundings and what other riders are doing is super important. But for me, at the end of the 5k beach section, you hit a really soft section of sand as you exit over the dunes, and I knew I wanted to be the first rider from the bunch to hit this soft sand section, as I knew it was going to be carnage. And yeah, I successfully managed to do that. Again, I had to burn a few matches to do that, but I think it was a worthwhile investment. It allowed me to stay out of trouble, because then the next few kilometres were really fast tailwind gravel sections where there was little room for moving up or down the bunch. And actually just this one 20-metre long soft sand section was enough to break the bunch up from 1,400 riders to probably a more slightly select group of 50. And yeah, sort of that's where we are now. As I mentioned, as you exit the beach, it's really fast rolling gravel, but there were actually some quite large rocks out on the course, so I was quite aware that if I punctured, that again would be my race over. My sealants that I did take in my back pockets probably would have helped me, but I would have lost so much time. I would have never been able to recover or got back to the front of the race. So on those slightly rockier sections, I was aware that, I didn't want to take too much of a risk, but my position was good the whole way through the gravel section part of the course. And on the first lap, we did hit a little bit of a single track section, nothing too crazy. But again, I was wary of my positioning, and Bram, who was the winner, I think he's won it quite a few times in the past, he took over the lead, and I managed to get on his wheel and pretty much follow him through. Just trying to navigate my way, staying out of trouble, making sure he didn't ride off, and just essentially keeping myself safe. So off the back of the single track section, we hit a really muddy patch, which we actually rode twice in the race. And quite a few of the guys were running really slick tyres for the race, so they struggled on this section. I was running a more intermediate file tread, I was slightly compromised on the really soft sand sections, but I felt like I had more control overall in the race. So a section like this, I felt pretty comfortable, and you can't really tell in the video, but looking behind, this really did split up the group even further, because then off the back of this, we hit then another single track section. This time it was far less grassy and more sand dune focused. So there's a lot more sand and no room for overtaking at all. And I think this was probably the deciding part of the race, one of the most deciding factors of the results, because essentially at the end of this section, there was about 10 of us left at the front of the race. And when we made it back onto the beach, we did sit up slightly because no one really wanted to work or commit. Again, no one wanted to burn their matches. So a small group that had been dropped on this section did then come across and join us for the headwind section. But those people had to spend so much energy trying to re-catch us, essentially, that when we hit this single track section again on the next lap, they were totally spent, and it just continued to whittle down lap after lap. Looking back at the videos now, I sort of forgot how tactical the race was. It's a tricky one. when you feel strong in a race, you obviously want to use that to your advantage. But again, you don't want to show your cards. You don't want to show you're the strongest rider in that group. Otherwise, as soon as you do that, you've got a target on your back and everyone's going to try and follow you. And no one will want to work with you. So you have to be pretty clever. And yeah, when we came onto the beach for the second time, the wind was probably slightly stronger than the first time. And obviously it was a much smaller group. So it was a kind of a strange one. How would this play out? Starts at the beach section, every lap. I did take a Veloforte gel on the first lap. So the end of the first lap, starts the second lap, I had my caffeine gel. Then on the final lap, I had non-caffeine gel. And yeah, from what I could see, I was the only person in the race taking fuel on during the race, which I found was really, really interesting. Like, I know it was only an hour and 20 race, but when you're working at your absolute max, I find myself running through my glycogen stores so quickly that if I didn't take on any energy through energy gels, chews, electrolytes, yeah, I would have definitely really started to feel that towards the latter end of the race and probably not being able to put out the efforts that I did because I fueled properly. So much like the first lap, my goal again was to be first off the beach. Yeah, it meant I would keep out of trouble and I would always be at the front dictating the pace. And yeah, it also being at the front means you can choose your line. If you're following the wheels, you have to follow the person in front of you. If they put their foot down, you put your foot down, vice versa. So if you're at the front of the race, I essentially just could ride straight through. But if someone had crashed, for instance, in the middle of the bunch, everyone behind them probably would have been caught up, and that could have been it. That could have been like the front of the race riding away from you. So again, I was really, really wary of that and did put a lot of effort in making sure I was first off that beach section. But again, I think it was really a worthwhile investment of my energy expenditure, because the second time off the beach, we then took a slightly different route back to the arena. This time we hit more of a 4x4 off-roady section. That was, yeah, far less gravel focused, but as you can see, it was more like, yeah, 2 4x4 tracks. So it was impossible to overtake, and I don't think the video does it justice of just how bumpy it was. It wasn't bumpy in a way, it was making your bars rattle, but it was just like very undulating, lots of little dips, which even made it really hard to cycle. So as you can see, I found myself switching between the hoods, drops quite a lot, and yeah, just trying to make myself as comfortable as possible. And I actually led the whole way through the section. And because it was a tailwind, I didn't mind that at all. I didn't feel like I was having to work too hard. And actually being at the front, again, I could dictate the pace, the line that I was choosing. And yeah, I thought it was a good use of my energy. The second lap was probably the most technical out of the three. So as we came off the 4x4 track, we hit a bit of gravel, overtaking some lapped riders before we hit the sand dunes. Now, this is probably why I love this race so much for this one section here. It's only about 1 kilometre long, but you essentially follow the back of the beach through the sand dunes, diving onto the grass, onto the sand, and yeah, it's just really fast and flowy and really good fun. And I think this is where the two Dutch guys really came into their own. They're two beach racing specialists, and yeah, looking at their setups and how they rode through these sections, I could really tell. I probably did struggle to be as fluid and smooth as they were through this section, but my main aim was essentially don't get dropped. So yeah, I managed to sandwich myself between the two. So Bram was at the front, then it was me, then it was the third placed Dutch rider behind me. And yeah, actually, I was the only person who could keep up with the two others, and this was the deciding factor of the race. This is how we broke away from the rest of the group behind us. This one section here through the dunes, where it was all single track, probably the most sandy, most technical, we just rode it so far.
so fast. By the end of it, I turned around and couldn't see anyone else. Which was kind of quite cool, but at the same time, it was like, we've still got a lap to go. What's going to happen now? But luckily, the 2 other riders in our group were just as committed as I were. So when we hit the beach section for the third time, for the final time, again, it was really strong headwinds, and we all committed the whole way up. No one was trying to sit on, no one was doing soft turns, and actually we just kept it really, really smooth. About 32 kilometers per hour we were trying to aim for, and just, it was a fluid 10-15 seconds on the front, peel off and repeat. And we just did that the whole way up the beach. And then as we headed off onto the final lap, I knew we did a few parts of the course where people were on the second lap, we would be overtaking them. So again, it's a tricky one. There was a few moments where we did get caught up with a few laps riders, but we didn't want to take advantage of that, and I didn't want that to be the reason I attacked or got away from the other two. So there was one point where actually we did get a little bit caught up, but we just sat up, waited for each other, regrouped, and then off we went again. And then on the final lap, we then split off to do a different section all the way to the finish. And this was probably the most single track, the longest section of single track of the whole entire race. And I just knew, again, I had to be at the front. So I had ridden the course a few times the day before and knew the exact moments I had to put in an attack to get the lead. And I managed to do that. And as you can see, when we hit the Junie parts again, there's no way to overtake at all. So I was pretty happy that this tactic paid off, because I could pick the pace, I could pick the lines, and I felt most confident being able to see where the course was going. Whereas if you're stuck behind someone, you're sort of naturally focused on them rather than the course. So you're focused on if they're braking, their lines, rather than actually what is the fastest line. So for instance, I might have taken a different line to someone else on one corner, but because I'm at the front, I get to choose that. So I get to do what's most comfortable to me. There was the biggest climb of the course. I wouldn't call it a mountain. It was just a mere speed bump, but you certainly felt it so far into the race. And I really had to push to get up here, because I knew if I had a gap going over the top of this climb, that was it. I could hold it onto the finish, because there was no real open sections where they would be able to bring me back. So I basically went all in at this point. This was the point where I attacked and used all of my energy. And it proved to be successful over the top. I had probably about a 10 to 15 second gap, if that. And I just managed to hold that all the way to the line. The gap never really grew, or it never really came back together, because it was so technical. You couldn't really go much faster, you couldn't really go much slower, and so it just sort of held steady. And the final few kilometers were really nerve-wracking. If I'd just overcooked one corner, if I had a mechanical or let off too much, they would have just gone steaming past me again. So that was like, the adrenaline was really pumping at this point. I was like, I need to hold on. I need to try and defend my title. And there's so many things that are going through your head at this moment in time. You don't want to think about the results, but at the same time, it's a possibility. So it's a really tricky mindset. Like, what do you think about? To be honest, I was probably in so much pain, I wasn't thinking about too much at that moment in time. I really was burying myself, as you can probably see from some of the faces that I'm pulling. I really enjoyed these final few kilometers. Like, it's so fun. These really fast, flowy sections all the way to the finish. And all of a sudden, you're there at the finishing line. And just like that, I'm still in a bit of disbelief that I managed to successfully defend my title. It was, pretty surreal feeling, but something I'm pretty chuffed about. So, I mean, hopefully that's a pretty good insight into what it was like at the front of the race at this year's Battle on the Beach. And yeah, hopefully you found it interesting, showing you why I did certain things and really how I won this race. But I would put a lot of it down to just general positioning.
As well as positioning, I think the equipment choices that I made also had a massive impact on the end result. I know I talked about my setup at the start of the video, but actually, yeah, I changed a few things for race day. One of the most noticeable was switching out the Hunt 40 limitless gravel wheels for a set of 50mm carbon discs. The main reason for this was just the tyre choice. On the 40 limitless, I had a quite aggressive tyre with quite a knobbly tread, whereas on the 50mm carbon disc wheel set, there was a slightly more intermediate, I guess, tyre, which just I found more comfortable on the sand. I felt more confident that I was able to ride more of the sand sections, and as you would have seen in the video, there's only one section I had to run, and I had to run that essentially because Bram in front of me, he dismounted, so I was sort of forced into that position. Otherwise, I could have potentially ridden the whole entire course, which would have been nice. The other reason I rode the 50mm discs is they have an amazing sounding free hub. It sounds pretty silly, but on a race such as this, when there's so many people, you would have seen throughout the video, there's a few places where we did lap a few riders, and the free hub on the 50mm disc wheel set from Hunt is so noisy. In fact, it's one of the reasons I love that wheel set so much. It sounds so good. But because it is so noisy, it's a really good way of making yourself aware to the people in front of you. Obviously, I didn't have a bell on my bike, so when I was approaching people, I shouted, leaders on your right, left, and then that freewheel just stem was also a nice addition to that to make myself aware to them. And then the frame was the same as the start of the video, which was the Ribble Gravel SL in an extra large, and a 44 tooth chainring on the front, then a 4410 on the rear. So that's a 12-speed Tramforce AXS group sets. Some of the finer details, the skin suit that I was wearing was from Sportful. So I'm sponsored by Sportful. I'm very privileged to be supported by them this year. And I'm not just saying this, but I've used a lot of kit in the past, and I'm super, super impressed by the quality of their kit. So you would have seen I used all of their kit throughout the video on my recons of the ride, when I was out training on the Friday night, and also during the race. So super excited to get into some more racing, and I've actually got some really cool things coming with them. Potentially a custom set of kit for gravel races for the rest of the season, so stay tuned for that. And then a few other finer details. I'm guessing when you have such a nice bike, wheels, equipment, you want to make sure everything's insured, and for that I choose Laka. Now I'm a paying customer of theirs, but I couldn't recommend them any more. So with them, they just take all the faff out of insurance, and instead of being in a fixed 12-month contract, you can pause, cancel anytime. So you just pay a monthly rolling fee, which I find is really nice. There's no small prints. It's just super, super easy. And I have my race bikes insured on there, my equipment for both racing and training. And the nice thing is there's a different types of cover. So there's like complete, and there's also core. So core just covers you for training, for instance, and then you can add on like race or travel insurance. And with those add-ons, it does add a little bit more to the cost each month. But if you're not racing 1 month, you can just take that off. So you're never paying more than you need to. And the team there is really, really friendly. So if you ever have any problems, I had to make a claim a couple of weeks ago, and they couldn't be more helpful in
helping me to make a claim, and actually it took just 3 hours between my claim being submitted and me getting the situation resolved. So yeah, I couldn't be more impressed with them. And yeah, with a few of these brands, if you want to check them out, there's links down in the description below, and if you use some of those links, they will get yourself a discount. And that includes like Veloforte, and also Stubble & Co, who I mentioned were the bags that I was using. And yeah, I guess if you've made it to this point in the video, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all the people who watch, like, subscribe, and I've got so many more races this season. Everything from the Tracker out in Spain to my first ever triathlon, which includes running up Snowdon, the Gralloch UCI race up in Scotland, which is a big UCI gravel race where I hope to qualify for the World Champs. And then, yeah, it's crit season. So, yeah, a huge thanks to all the brands that supports me. Extra UK, who helped with all the tyres for this weekend. So, yeah, and I've got some exciting things coming with them, which I'm really looking forward to sharing more with you soon. But, like I said, thanks for watching, and please hit the like and subscribe button.